You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to $1 million months through powerful strategies and connections. And my guest today is none other than Angel Reyes, attorney out of, man, look at me messing up, Dallas, Texas. Welcome, Angel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Raje. I really appreciate that. I'm flattered to be here.
Hey, man, I'm happy to have you here, man. Before we get into your story and everything, take me back to the moment when you knew in all your heart of hearts that you wanted to be an attorney. Was there a moment that when did being an attorney enter into you?
Yeah. So, when I go back to my college years, by the time I was halfway through my sophomore year, I had a couple of teachers just inquire, like, have you ever thought about law school? And I hadn't until they kind of seeded me a little bit. And so I had it in my head, right? And junior year, I'm like, okay, let's give this a go. And I was lucky. I got into a handful of really top schools, and I ended up going to the University of Michigan Law School. And I'm really glad I did. It turned into a door opener and a really amazing experience for me.
That's a wonderful story. In moving forward, how did you personal injury? Like, you specialize in the car.
Yeah.
And that's
an interesting and almost funny story. So at my law school, almost everybody left with a job at what is now called big law. And that was sort of what you were supposed to do. And so that's what I did. I went to New York City. I worked at a firm on Wall Street, literally the address to Wall Street. And, after the first year, I was kind of complaining a little bit. I had done, they told me I was doing corporate securities and finance. And really, it was just redlining documents and big bond indentures. And so, I guess that's finance as it relates to lawyers. And so I was talking to a good buddy of mine, best friend, and he was in Dallas. And he's like, hey, man, I bet this firm would interview you. You want me to hook it up? I'm like, yeah, hook it up. And I flew down here in the best month possible, the last week of March, just like now.
Wow.
And the weather is just like today. And
hey,
I was
man.
like,
okay.
I had left slush and like dirty, slushy snow stuff behind. And I'd already spent a number of winters in a place that, you got snow and you got some cold. And I got here and people were going to the pool on like March 28th. And I went, oh, this might not be too bad. So I took the interview. I got the job. And at the time, it was it was the biggest firm in Dallas. Long before the national firms came here, there were some Texas powerhouses. It was one of them. And so by the time, I said, look, I'll take the job, but I got to finish my lease and I got to take the bar. This was back when if you were going to practice in another state, you had to take that bar. It's not quite like that now. You can waive into a lot of states. Back then, that was not an option. So I had to take the bar exam. And, so the bar exam is the last few days of July here in Texas.
Right.
So I flew down here to take the bar and I went, what the fuck happened? It was like 106 with 80% humidity. Like, we're talking about meltdown. right?
Sticky.
Yeah. But, I stuck with it. And one night I was working at my office. It was probably 7:30, and a cleaning lady came into my office, and she asked me, "Jonathan, yeah, I do," because she saw my name, Angel Reyes. That's how it's said in Spanish. And my family's from Puerto Rico, and I spent my elementary school years there. And she said, "Look, my son was in a terrible car wreck, and he wants help with it. These are car accidents, right?" I was naive as hell. I went to like the managing partner kind of guy, and I said, "Hey, can we help this guy? I'd really like to." And he said to me, "Man, some of our biggest clients are like Chubb Insurance, so no, we're not going to do that." And I'm like, "Oh man," that was like my chance to bring a client. I was like, "Oh shit." So my buddy said, "Well, why don't you just see what it's worth?" And I said, "All right." I found out there was a $300,000 policy.
Whoa.
I figured they'd pay it. And so we took a flyer. We quit that firm, and 2 weeks later settled that case, took $100,000 fee, and I convinced my buddy to let me put 50 grand of that settlement on Univision, which is a Spanish language television station. At that time, no lawyers had ever advertised on Spanish TV in Texas. So I was the first. And at first they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to open up their, station to lawyers, especially ambulance chasing lawyers. But eventually they did say yes. They broke down. And then 6 months later, every damn station in the country had lawyers saying, habla español. And so the rest is history, because from that, the ads generated 99% of the clients that we generated came with a car accident, in their recent history. And I decided I'd pursue it. Like, we'll do that. And so it was less of a strategic decision and more of a, all right, if this is what's coming in, let's do it, and let's do it well.
Right. And with your heritage,
That's a long answer to your question, but
right. No, that's perfect. Your heritage being Hispanic, Puerto Rican, you had Texas has a huge Hispanic population. So
oh my gosh, I think it's 42 or 44% of the state, which is huge. It's
That's
almost
huge.
all Mexican American.
Almost half, man.
Oh yeah, it's damn near half.
Wow.
We're a minority of the majority minority state, essentially. And we have been for like 10 years. So,
Right. So
that's modern. That's today's Texas.
So I'm following the story now. So you got your first case, you went on TV, you were a pioneer in going on, doing a show, which I mean I'm sure you had a flood of traffic, which leads me to your team. I saw your team, I saw your ads or your presence on Instagram.
Yeah.
Really, it shows the compassion. Not only are you a leader, you remember what it's like being in their shoes, and how did you put that process together? You have
Instagram is recent, like last 10 years. I started this practice. I've been a lawyer for 35 years. And, for the first almost 2 years, I worked at one global firm and then another Texas regional firm, and then on my own. So I've been on my own for 33 of those 35 years. And, you know, when we started back then, it was kind of like newspapers, magazines. TV was a bit avant-garde, but there were people on it, lawyers advertising for car accidents and workers' comp. And, you know, we got a bunch of clients for that 50 grand. I'm talking like, I want to say like a few hundred.
Now, is the 50 grand where you started, the 50 grand where you started into Angel Reyes' law firm? That was
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly right. And we've been Angel Reyes and Associates since 93.
Wow. That's strong.
So getting back to the Instagram thing, I've got a full team now. But back then, we shot our own ads with the Univision camera people. It was pretty basic back then.
I was talking about your team, like the team coming in, that nature. I was looking at them on your on your social media platform.
Right.
The team that you've built,
right.
mostly Hispanic heritage and things of that nature. How did that whole process come about?
Yeah, so, you know, as we grew, we started filing a lot of lawsuits. And when you do that, you need good lawyers doing good legal work. And by 96, we were trying cases to verdict. And so, you know, a number of lawyers have come and gone, you know, in all candor, this firm. But as we sit here today, there's a handful of lawyers that have been with me for 20 plus years. And I'm super proud of that. You know, I don't think people stick around for 20 plus years unless you're being fair and you're treating them with, you know, not just dignity, but with fairness. And, you know, you got to do a lot. Maybe some of the new ones will stick around that long. I don't know. I mean, I'm 60, you know, so.
Hey, man, I'm 60.
How long am I going to stick around?
Hey, welcome to the club. I mean, you know, your reputation.
How long am I going to stick around, Raje? You got to tell me.
Hey, until God takes you home, man. You know. But
yeah.
what I've noticed is you have four attorneys, super trial attorneys. You got super lawyers, you guys call them.
Yeah.
Four of them in your firm, including the young cat named Alex.
Alex. Yeah.
I don't want to miss his name.
A rising star. He's
a rising star, man. I mean, your style, the leadership that you've provided, is becoming like this. I mean, I don't see you're building.
Well, you know, just Alex has had $2 million verdicts on cases where the pretrial offer was under 100,000, and so he's earned his stripes for sure. He is a rising star.
Yeah,
and we have others. You know, they may not have 7-figure verdicts, but they have those kind of settlements. And so, you know, we got to have good lawyers here. We have good lawyers, and we litigate files. We actually file lawsuits. 7 out of 10 of every case that walks through the door becomes a filed lawsuit here. And that distinguishes us from most firms that do auto accident cases. Many of them settle 80-90% of their cases in pre-litigation before they file a lawsuit. And we do it the opposite way. We file the lawsuit and expect fair value.
Yeah, I see that you're I had to do homework on you, man. You're like one of those. Yeah, I see you as this. You're kind of like a celebrity in Dallas.
Well, you know, look, in 2018, I made a very counterintuitive decision that I'd had about 5 years of Google Analytics behind us. And I'm like, you know what? These Google cases are just way cheaper than TV. So I actually got off TV in 2019. But before I got off TV, I was kind of like the weatherman, you know, like you go places, people like, hey, Angel, you know, that kind of thing.
What was your tagline, man, when you were on TV? Do that for me.
Along the lines of, you deserve more, don't settle for less. And, you know, that may be a cliche, but I did finish a lot of my ads with that call, tagline, whatever you want to call it.
I see in 2018, you've been studying data. Data is really important.
Yeah. Oh man.
And you use data sort of like that's like your secret weapon. Can you explain that?
Sure. You know, part of that counterintuitive decision rested on the data we were collecting. I mean, we were just like, all right, so much cheaper doing digital advertising over television. You know, I don't know if everybody or anybody else would have just turned it off, but we moved over, and this is 2019, we moved over $20 million off of legacy media and put it all into digital. Now, digital to us is YouTube and Instagram and, you know, Facebook, but really it's also Google Paid. Yeah, but Google Paid is still like the backbone of how we acquire cases. And, you know, we've been doing it for a while, since 2019. And we went all in. And now our spend is, oh gosh, you know, it's bumping 40 million just with Google.
Wow, man, that's so impressive.
Yeah, that takes a real team, a digital team, to properly manage, because it's like not even daily, it's more like every 2 hours. Right. You have to be paying attention. And if you're not paying attention every couple hours, you can blow your budget out like that fast.
Okay, so we're picking back up. We had some technical difficulties, but now we're back. So Angel, diving back in, I'm where I was leaving off with you about this wonderful firm that you've put together. You have about 250, 500 employees. Is there something like that?
We've got actually a little more than 650.
Wow.
Many of them are offshore, just to be clear, but a couple hundred right here in the great state of Texas.
Oh, that's marvelous. So I wanted to ask you, how do you go about, you know, how do people find Angel Reyes? What steps have you taken to do marketing?
Man, I'll tell you an interesting story. I don't want to bore everybody, but
we're not bored, man.
In 1994, I put some money on Univision, which is the Spanish language channel here in Dallas, and I think it was like 50 grand, and I did it 3 months in a row, and I ended up with like 600 clients. I mean, it was like hundreds of dollars per client. They were all auto or truck, you know, people. Clients, I should say, that had been injured or at least were willing to get checked out to see if they had any injuries. And I was like, wow, that was remarkably powerful. And so I started out most of the marketing for the firm doing what I would call legacy media. You know, it was back in our day, Raje, when there was like 4 channels plus some cable bullshit, plus a little, maybe a UHF here and there, you know.
Right.
You and I are the same vintage. And so I do remember that staticky UHF, you know, or UFH channel. But anyway, I did that for many, many years. I mean, we spent a couple $100 million between like 93 to probably about 2018, 19. And, but around 2012, we started putting a lot more money into digital because we could follow what we spent to whether we got a case or not out of the deal. The attribution was just so much more powerful, right? And so, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you know, it was kind of cool to walk into a restaurant and have people go, hey, Angel, lawyer, you know, it was kind of funny. We live in a town with no celebrities, so God help me, you know, nothing like a lawyer, you know, walking. My God, what a
hey, you do like a rock star, man. I'm just saying.
It was cool but goofy. I don't know. Anyway, what we noticed was that in 2012 to 14, the cases that we were getting digitally were we could see exactly what they cost per case, and then we could track over time exactly how many of the cases that we signed up were we keeping, and then recalculate what it cost to keep that case. And as we were doing that, we kept looking at the television stuff going, and we tried so hard to attribute each channel, each ad, different phone numbers. We did everything we could to try to find a way to attribute a client to an ad on TV. And it just got harder and harder. And we started putting more and more money onto the digital side. And by 2018, I just said, you know what, we're going to pull the plug on legacy TV. No more Fox, no more CW, no more of that stuff. We went all digital. But digital is more than just Google. It's SEO, it's pay-per-click. By that time, it was also social. Let's not leave social out. It's not a big piece of our digital spend, but it's there. Don't forget YouTube. But we decided we're going to rebrand, if you will, but across digital properties. So now that is, where we get the vast super majority of our clients. They come to us from this is what I call this saved my career. And right around 2012 and 14, once everybody had one of these in their hands, they started driving really shitty. And those shitty drivers are what literally kept us in business. And now this is how those people find us. They're looking at their phone. They're like, and it's immediate, right? So like the fastest firm to answer has a shot at signing that case. If they fill out a form, the fastest firm to return, either an email or a text or a call is got a better chance at getting that case. And so that's what we do. We do digital spend. It's in the tens of millions, and it's working. But with this new chat, this Google AI overview, I don't know where things are going to go. That's another beast we're going to have to slay over the next 5 years or so, or even faster. I mean, this shit's happening.
No, it's happening quick. I think
quick. And I don't know. We're still picking up the number of cases that we aim for and that we want. Dropping a few more than we care to, but overall, short answer to your long, to your short answer to my long answer to your short question is that we get them most digital. That's our strategy, digital strategy. Right. We're all in on it. We have been for years. We still have some residual brand value. And I think that brand value matters on the margins, but I don't think it's what drives the vast majority of people now. I think it's urgency. I think it's whoever they reach and whoever they connect with like immediately. They don't care. You can have the biggest damn brand name in the country and it will not matter. That case is yours. And so, they're looking for urgency, immediacy, speed, and some empathy. There, no doubt. And so, that's the way we approach case acquisition or getting more clients. And it's been a real interesting ride for the last 8 years because so many people couldn't believe after hundreds of millions of dollars being spent across Texas markets that I was willing to walk away from that sort of brand advertising. But man, the attribution, the ability to know what we spent, where we spent it, and what it delivered to us has changed this firm, period.
Man, that's a very, I've interviewed many attorneys, but for you to specifically,
sorry to hear that.
For you to specifically fall into your digital world, they call you the king of digital. I think you're going to have great conversations with people here at Loudr Media because that's exactly where they are. That first 30 to 60 seconds is crucial. It's
Can you believe it's seconds now?
Yeah.
Like when did it go from like maybe a minute, maybe 10, maybe even a half a day? Maybe we wait one night, sleep on it. No, bullshit. It's 10 seconds. Oh my God.
No, you got to get them. You got to get them.
The world has changed. The world has changed. Let me tell you.
And it's changing rapidly.
Oh.
And you're smart to be on that curve of where they're going, of where the industry is going.
Well, we've seen it head that way for about 8 years now, or 7.5, whatever you want, however you do. We're barely into 26, but at least 7+ full years. That's been our 99% strategy. We're going to stick to it. But like you said, the ground is shifting again. So, we got to keep a sharp eye out.
With saying that, What do you think the future of personal injury law and marketing is in Texas?
Yeah. So Texas, just put some context around it. It's a really competitive state. The two biggest markets in Texas, which are Dallas and Houston, the only market or the only other two markets that would compare in terms of what you've got to spend in order to acquire and onboard a client would be Los Angeles and New York City. Otherwise, those are the top four. You got to spend the most. You've got to really have your systems and processes in place. And in Texas, you better be prepared to file lawsuits. And that's something we've been doing since 94. That was the first lawsuit I filed. It was kind of funny.
First lawsuit was in 1994?
First lawsuit. Like, we used to just settle these cases. Like, we'd write a letter. Here's the medical bills. Please pay us 3 times the value of the medical bills. And in like 93, 94, that would happen. You'd get a little check and everybody would be happy. But then I said, you know what? I think they're giving us shitty values. So I filed a case, and I think I got $5,000 more than we would have had we taken the last pre-litigation settlement offer. And I was like, we should do this more often. And slowly but surely, we went from settling like 90% of our cases without a lawsuit to now it's we settle maybe 3 out of 10 cases without a lawsuit. 7 out of 10 cases, we have already brought a lawsuit, and they're going to settle, and they're going to have settled because we filed a lawsuit. So if you're not doing that in Texas, I think you should.
Tell me about your first case. Did you have to? What was that?
So
what was it like being in the courtroom? Did it go to jury? What happened?
Yeah, I did actually. You did. I sure did. You don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know much. Remember, I was a 3-4 year lawyer at the time, and I've been running this damn business. We went down there, and she was a Spanish speaker, last name Salinas, and we had to get an interpreter, and it was like, it's easy to do all that now, but man, 32 years ago, it was like, wow, it was weird, trippy. She testified in Spanish through a translator, and the jury still came back and gave us, I'm pretty sure it was $5,100 more than they'd been offering. And, I don't know if a year and a half of litigation was like really worth that. Remember, we got 40% of $2,000. So we made $2,000 more than we other would have. But right. I just felt like that was a good way to make sure that the clients were not being undersold, and that we're getting, if not fair value, fairer value than just ripping it out as a pre-litigation settlement. That's not to diminish or devalue firms that still rely on pre-litigation settlements, but we're litigators, and we file 7 out of 10 of our cases get filed. And so I think it's a good strategy. And where's it going to go from here? It's just going to get harder. It's going to get more competitive. There are firms from California, Florida, Illinois, Arizona, Nevada coming, and they're opening up offices, and they're competing with us for the same cases, that we're looking for. So the ponds have more boats on them, we're getting right. Our fishing grounds are full of like new boats. Right. And that's cool. I always tell people, just come to Texas. The water's tepid, meaning jump in.
It says a lot about your
really warm, but it's not, it's not completely ice cold, but right. It's going to take you about 5 years to get that flywheel going. So
right. Going that extra mile, though, says a lot about how you value your clients.
Yeah.
What you just said, I like what you said. It only brought you $2,000 more than what it would have been if you hadn't have gone to trial or filed a lawsuit. But the fact that you went that extra step, I think that's what's going to help, just drive people towards you in the future.
It's hard to say. I mean, so many clients that when they're in this sort of urgent situation where they need help about a car accident, I'm not sure they know that it matters that we file. Eventually they might figure it out, but it's not really a selling point. In fact, a lot of clients are a little bit afraid of lawsuits. We work hard at educating them so that they understand, yeah, it's a process. There might be a few moments where you're uncomfortable, but we're going to be there with you, and we're going to make sure this turns out well for you. And we know that if by filing, we're going to get you better outcome, and we're going to maximize your case value.
What drives big case outcomes in Texas, like truck accidents, and what drives them?
Yeah. So if you don't file a lawsuit, they don't drive at all. They're stuck. They'll pay you a little something, but they don't pay you much. So when it comes to big settlements, big verdicts, they're almost always tied to big damages. No doubt about it. There is a strong correlation between a big settlement and really catastrophic injuries. There's no question about that. But when it comes to truck cases like 18-wheelers, even some commercial carriers like the Amazon box trucks and stuff like that, you need to know what you're doing. And I'm not suggesting people out there don't, but there's an awful lot more work that needs to be done. Like the Federal Motor Carriers Act is involved. The safety experts of the company are involved. The corporate reps need to be deposed, and a lot more work has to happen on a trucking case with or without catastrophic injuries. But the big numbers come from good facts. So really good facts, you're going to get a really good result. Facts not as great, but if you do the work, you're going to at least get a better result than a lawyer or a law firm that doesn't do the extra work. I had a friend of mine make a joke once. Somebody asked him, "Hey, how do you get a $50 million settlement?" And his answer was, you start with a $100 million case. Essentially, you just have the best case in the world. You get 50. You won't get maybe 100, but you're going to get 50. And so I always find that kind of funny and humorous and apropos of what we do.
Yeah. In your professional opinion, what are the biggest myths about PI attorneys that either need to be proven or not?
Well, everybody that'll ever listen to this has heard every imaginable lawyer joke. And the truth is, at least as I have perceived it, I've been a lawyer 35 years. So, since I was 25 years old, the butt of most lawyer jokes tend to be personal injury lawyers. I think it's a combination of things. It's the fact that most of us advertise, so there's that. The insurance industry has done a terrific job of messaging that we really are ambulance chasers and that we really are only in this for the money, and that without us, you'd be paying cheaper insurance premiums. I mean, my God, these people are leeches and that they're feeding on your settlement. But the truth of the matter is, without a lawyer, if you've been in an auto or truck accident, you are not going to be treated fairly. State Farm, you're not in good hands. They're not your friend. No matter what that damn Geico lizard says, they're not going to pay you more money. And so, it's one of those things where we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. We get these great results for people that are their lives have been changed forever. And we tend to boast about them. So we put them on billboards and maybe even advertise it on TV. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But what happens is other people get a bad taste in their mouth. When they see that and hear that, it's kind of like rubbing like lottery winners, like, oh, I won the lottery. Even though this is not winning the lottery, this is not even getting back what you lost when you were in that auto or truck accident. But in order to change that, our side of the equation needs to do a much better job of messaging. We've been outflanked at every turn by some of the world's largest organizations and businesses. Insurance companies own, I don't know, more real estate than the Catholic Church around the globe. They collect premiums in order to do investments, and they know how to paint us in a sort of a negative light, and they've done a good job of that for like 50 years. And now also, look, there are a lot more visible lawyers and law firms that are saying, hey, if you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I can get you money. And the truth is, that might be crass for some folks, but it is the only thing we can get you. We can't get your health back. We can't unbreak your bone. We can't get you out of the wheelchair if you're paralyzed. I mean, that's just not going to happen. The only thing we can do is get you money. And so, I don't know, maybe we could do a little bit better job with it, but I don't know. I feel like, we do the work we do. Nobody should run from it. We should be proud of what we do. We get people paid and we get them as fair a compensation as we can. And without us, they'd get screwed. And the insurance company just doesn't want people to know that without us, they're fucked. Client side is.
Well said. Well spoken. Now, another thing I found out about you, I was doing some digging. And all good stuff. I saw that you love to do the comparison. I think we just touched on it a little bit, but have you ever thought about being that guy to just you have everything, like the professor of comes to mind? I look at Saul. Remember Better Call Saul?
Yeah, that's a pretty cool tagline. Yeah, it's memorable. Yeah, it's memorable. Some of those are memorable, but they tend to be more memorable in small communities. In really big cities, man. I mean, I'm not going to say branding doesn't matter, but darn it, I can't be sure of it. I think it matters in the margins. So we don't have a tagline. That's okay, Now,
I mean, you're that presence, though. I mean, when you speak, you seem to know everything down the line, man. Like systematically, it's like you're a walking computer, and you go to the point. And I think most attorneys struggle with that aspect, but you seem to make it a part of your business that's a cornerstone.
Yeah. So one thing that I have, the ability to do that maybe not every lawyer that has a law firm that does this kind of work has the ability to do, and that is I am working on the business, not in the business. So I don't carry an active docket. So I am always looking on our numbers. I'm always reviewing our metrics. Who's doing what? What's coming up? So I'm always looking currently and then into the future, what's happening, what's going to happen, and I have a business role in a law firm that is a business. Every law firm is a business, and any lawyer that hasn't sort of come to grips with that does this kind of work is probably like bitter maybe, or like, I can't believe those, TV lawyers or whatever, they got something to gripe about. But, these are businesses. Along with a couple of other lawyers here, all we do is work on the business. And we've got, 45-ish other lawyers that carry dockets. And all we do is manage how things are going and try to improve people's, ability to get great results. So I know our numbers. Yeah, you ask me a question, I can give you the answer. When it comes to how many cases did you get last month? How many cases did you kick, withdraw, fall off? How many lawsuits did you file? How much money did you bring in? I mean, I can answer that granularly, but I've been doing it for decades. Don't forget. I mean, I've been doing it for decades.
You're OG. You're OG.
This did not happen overnight. It was a 33-year overnight sensation. And, I'm sure people are tired of that cliche because I say it often, but it's the truth.
Hey, you got to stand. You got to stand on your facts. You got to stand on your truth.
It's the truth.
So I got a couple more questions for you. So if a young attorney was to come into your office today, or if you were to talk back to you 33 years ago when you first came in, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, younger self.
Break it into this business.
Yeah, there are a couple things I would tell my younger self. One is I never got a chance to develop with a mentor. And one of the things young lawyers here get a chance to do is at a minimum see if they like this work. And they have enough people with more experience than they do that, they can either find a mentor or utilize the more experienced lawyers in a mentor sort of relationship. It doesn't have to be, some kind of signed contract or anything, but
right.
We've got resources. I left big firms so soon in my career that I never had a mentor. And I guess looking back on it, it would have been kind of cool. even if it was outside the firm, because I was, hooking and crooking it, and until I started hiring others, and then sort of figuring things out. And then the second thing I would tell my young self is that you've got to develop good processes before. Look, it's always whenever you can. It's like the old cliche: best time to plant a tree 20 years ago. Best time, next best time, today. So when it comes to processes, wherever you are in your firm's evolution, the sooner you get serious about processes, the better your firm's going to get. And I'm not sure, I was slow to really having rigorous processes. And if I could if I could go back in time and tell my young self that, don't wait 10, 12, 14 years to really have processes that keep these cases sort of on an assembly line so that they get the right attention at the right time by the right people. And so those are two things that I'd probably tell my young self to, snap to and pay a little attention to that stuff.
Yeah, man, you're brilliant. You're a brilliant man. And
well,
finally,
flattery is going to get you everywhere, Raje. You know that.
Hey, man, I'm just sitting here looking at you in truth. Even though we had the technical difficulties, we were lost in Twilight Zone. But
we were lost in space. Anyway,
here we are, though. Here we are.
We're going to finish.
So here at Loudr Lawyer Network, we like to ask attorneys this question in a positive light. What does a Loudr lawyer mean to you when you see the name of a lawyer?
So I think it's a lawyer. A Loudr lawyer is a lawyer who has a voice that people listen to, but are also intrigued by. They hear something and they think, maybe that person's got something going on. So you don't have to yell. You can just speak. And when people hear you, they may or may not think, hey, that guy knows a few things or a few tricks, or sounds like he is at least informed. So for me, that's how I would say, or that's what a Loudr lawyer is for me.
Good answer. Well, looking at you, I saw someone who commands presence without saying anything.
I do a few presentations. I'm on the circuit.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
the
way you work a room, man. But when you just walk in, like I said, we saw the energy that you bring in when you have your soirees, your events and things. So
very nice. Well, we've got an event coming up. This will probably won't be broadcast in time, but we've got a CLE that our firm puts on here in Texas, April 9 and 10, which is next week, here at the Dallas Marriott. 14 hours of CLE credit and some heavy hitting national speakers and some heavy hitting Texas speakers. But I don't think this is going to be edited in time. So I thought I'd shout that out because we're going to do it next year too, right around this time in April in Dallas. We're partnered with the National Trial Lawyers Association, and it's a great event, 300 plus lawyers. So, Angel Reyes Associates, you can find us pretty much anywhere in Texas.
Yeah. Speaking of that, leave your digits down there.
Yeah, you bet. So, Angel Reyes Associates, we're everywhere in Texas. We'll take a case anywhere in the state of Texas. Obviously, we're heavily focused in North Texas, the Houston area, Central Texas, San Antonio, Austin, but we've got cases everywhere. El Paso, which is another time zone in this state. I can be reached at angel@reyeslaw.com. I don't mind emails. And in fact, I'll respond to them unless they're nasty. If they're nasty, I just delete it. And so, I'm easy to find. Just Google me.
Nice. Well, Angel Reyes, thank you for being a guest here on Loudr Lawyer Network. As always, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Good talk. Good talk.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.